What I enjoyed most about my PLO was the opportunity to work with families in a co-working capacity, particularly families whose children were subject of care order, and families who were compelled to be involved with us. And as time went by and as our relationship developed from a professional point of view, I could see that those families were beginning to become more engaged in the work, and particularly families who maybe felt that they were being judged by social work services. As an independent organisation, we were able to come in and show the family members that we supported them. Given the fact that the families were involved with family intervention teams and looked after children teams, and the children themselves had already been through the gateway system, a lot of the work was quite heavy in that respect, and to have the opportunity to bounce ideas off colleagues was the most rewarding thing. And there were instances when I personally struggled with some of the material and some of the information that was coming through, and to have more experienced ears, more experienced eyes there to help me was quite rewarding as well. The most challenging aspect of my PLO centred on the reasons why people were referred to our service. The children particularly had been subject to quite horrendous abuse and experiences, and the parents themselves had in their own lifetimes perhaps had quite adverse experiences, and that was challenging for me from a personal perspective as a daddy, and having two young children around the same age as those children who we were working with. That was quite heavy for me to cope with, and I did become quite emotional and I struggled with that. But having a practice teacher and having colleagues in that team and having a tutor and having other people around me in terms of having reflective conversations about where I was at within the work, and also the impact on myself, on the people I was working with, but also looking at the impact of the people I was working with on me as a human being. I believe that although it was a challenge, it also provided me with quite strong opportunities to bring forward into my AYE. Piece of work that stimulated me most, or one of the pieces of work that stimulated me on PLO, centred around work that I had been doing with a mum whose two boys were in the care of their granny. The mum had experienced horrendous abuse, domestic abuse at the hands of her ex-partner, who's the children's dad, and he was in prison, and he was imprisoned for a considerable period of time. And this woman's coping strategy as a consequence was alcohol and substance misuse, which led to her being in contact with the family intervention team in that particular area. One of the concerns that I had at the beginning was that I had perceived that the woman would have concerns working with me as a male, but as the work progressed, I gradually realised that, and we asked the question in the co-working session about how she felt about working with me, and she had said that because of the approach that I had taken and the way I was working with her, and the sense that she was getting that she was having control over the way the sessions were working, because at the end of the day, the FIT team and all the social workers and the Sure Start workers and family support workers and all of these people, the GP, all of these people had some sense of control in her life. So for her, it was important for her to get a sense of control for herself. She'd also, when we'd asked the question in a co-working session, she had expressed that she was comfortable working with me as a male, and I found that particularly rewarding, particularly in terms of how I was working with her in a collaborative way and recognising her status and her role as an expert in her own life and her own experiences. What was also important for me in that respect was that I had actually prejudged that this woman would feel oppressed or feel uncomfortable about working with me as a male, when in actual fact she wasn't. And I suppose there's something there for me about not judging and not prejudging how somebody's going to feel, and not necessarily assuming or presuming that because someone is in contact with social services that they're automatically going to be oppressed. So in that respect, I think that was important for me. The one tip I would give to somebody coming into my PLO, particularly if you haven't experienced that particular setting of children and families work, And whilst you might have personal experiences or previous professional experiences, is not to be naive, because I was naive to begin with, and I made all these presumptions about where I was going and the type of work that I would see. And it actually turned it all on its head for me. And now I'm looking forward to, hopefully, if I get a job, going to work in children and families. And I didn't previously think I would.